or hear us okay, that would be great.
All right. But, besides the technology, I think just this example of technology is telling us how resilient we have to be in life.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
We've gone back and forth several times this week trying to figure it all out. So I get
all
it. Yeah.
good. It's all good.
Yeah.
Beth, Tyson, I'm so excited to connect with you and have a conversation. Please take a minute and tell and share with us a little bit about you.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here too. I'm so glad we found each other. I think it was on Instagram. And we're both just in the same space with this conscious parenting, empathetic type of parenting and coaching that we want to offer families and people who work with children. So I am a psychotherapist with a specialization in grief and trauma. And I've worked for several years within the child welfare system, helping foster families and adoptive families and children impacted by trauma. And on top of that, I'm also a children's book author of A Grand Family for Sullivan, which I just is a piece of my heart out in the world, really.
It's beautiful. You have made it. If you're an author, I think I congratulate you and you inspire me. You've written a book. This is exciting.
Thank
Yay
you.
Yay
Thank
you. Yay.
Yeah, it's been an incredible journey, and I'm so proud of the book and all the people that helped make it happen and come to fruition. So I definitely didn't do it alone. I had a lot of support from friends and family. But yeah, that was huge. And so yeah, so I also am a trauma-informed consultant. So I offer educational training to organizations, nonprofits, schools, teachers, hospitals, and I help them understand trauma from a child's perspective and how they can interact with children who are really struggling with adverse childhood experiences, is what they're called, ACEs, adverse childhood experiences. And right now, I mean, that's saying more than ever. I feel like I keep saying over and over again, but now more than ever, we really need everybody to understand trauma, because we've all collectively been impacted by trauma over this past year. And so nobody is immune to adverse experiences in life. And that's why I thought it was really interesting for the two of us to connect today over resilience, because resilience, the definition of it is the ability to bounce back after life's adversities and after extreme stressors. And so today, yeah, we will talk about that with you and the rest of the people here. We hope you'll join in on an open discussion about what resilience means to you and about how we can build it up in ourselves and in our children.
Great.
So that's me. And why don't you introduce yourself and all your wisdom and experience?
Thank you, Beth. So, yes, like-minded people connect instantly. And I think when Beth and I connected on Instagram, we were just absolutely on the same page and we connected instantly. My name is Prerna Richards, and you pronounce Prerna like you're praying. It's a little confusing, so I like to pronounce that out in the front, because when you see it written, it's really hard. I've been in the field of early childhood for 35 years. And a couple of years ago, I started my own business called Together We Grow. And I provide training for schools, also for parent education. Because, when you become a parent, you don't necessarily have to learn about child growth and development. And when you're an educator, you learn that piece. So I share that. I also coach families. And since the pandemic, I have coached individual families. I used to do coaching in classrooms with challenging behaviors. And like Beth, I am very well, I would say, experienced in trauma-informed education, not because that was something that I was going towards, but life happened, and social, emotional, and trauma are connected. In fact, they say that trauma is anything to a child that a child has no control over, that creates little ripples of trauma. And so this last year, I think we both got really excited about this topic, because this last year we have had to live it. And it isn't something that is just a word. We have both lived it, and I'm sure people listening have lived it in their lifetime. And I don't know about you, Beth, but I was sitting in a reflective space and wondering, why are some people thriving and
Mhm,
some people surviving
mhm,
in this last year that has changed the landscape as we knew it?
mhm,
And I landed on the word resiliency.
mhm.
That is probably the secret sauce for the families that are finding themselves more successful and able to bounce back. And then I was thinking, how do you get to become a resilient adult? Where in life does it start? And what can we do? And, all of us know that 90% of the brain gets wired birth to five. So
Mhm.
that must be the foundation that we have to do this intentionally.
Yes. Yeah.
So let's dive into it. How do we intentionally become resilient, and how do we help our children to have resiliency as a character trait? What
Sure.
would you say?
Well, I agree with you that it does start early on. The earlier the better, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you can't develop resiliency skills later in life. For example, I don't believe I was intentionally taught a lot of resilience from my parents, and not through any fault of their own, but just out of a lack of awareness, a lack of discussion around these topics with earlier generations. And so I feel as though I have been able to adapt as an adult and gain these skills. And so I want to be clear that although we will probably focus on talking about younger children today and teens, that even as adults, we can develop these skills. And even though it might be a little bit harder.
So that's such a good point, that our brain is elastic and plastic.
Yeah.
And so I don't think my mom intentionally said she was being resilient, but I see it her in her role modeling. My mom lives really close to me and she's in her 80s, but she has led life with the attitude of, we don't give up, we figure it out, and we move forward. Going back is not an option, giving up is not an option. I have heard those words from my mom. And
Hmm.
so, like you said, we weren't taught this saying we are making you resilient, but we saw it around us. We saw it in role modeling. I mean, my mom is a role model to me because she lived being resilient. She's had a tough life. She lived being resilient, and I grew up knowing that giving up was never an option. Figuring out was the only choice we had, and I'm doing that with my granddaughter now. I
Yeah.
mean, one of them is local, and I find myself doing it with her. So, what would be some specific strategies that you would recommend parents, educators, grandparents to either role model or to use words? What could they do?
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, a lot of this is about us, right? As the adult in the situation in front of our children, being able to be vulnerable with our children is my first recommendation, my first suggestion, because when you show your own vulnerability and your own struggles, and they see you trying something new and failing at it, and you keep trying and you keep going, they see that as an example and they see that as a model. And that's how children really deeply learn and ingrain information, is through modeling and through watching what adults are doing, especially those that are closest to them. So if you are their primary caregiver and you show them how you struggle, a lot of times we don't show that to children naturally. When we struggle, it's behind closed doors. When we're working on something, it's at work. You're doing most of your work somewhere else. And so if we can bring children into that conversation and let them witness us struggle with something, whether it be putting a puzzle together or a toy, or something on the computer, but something where they can watch you go at it over and over and over again, and not give up and keep trying until you get that final result.
I think that is a brilliant point, and I think that also ties into labeling that emotion. This makes me really frustrated. I don't know how to do this. And it's okay, but giving up is not an option. I remember having conversations with my granddaughter. I refer to her because I've been homeschooling her. So she's the only child at home right now. And I remember saying to her when she was little, even when she couldn't get the glue bottle to work, and she would give up, and she's like, I can't. And I'm like, I remember so clearly saying to her, but we can't give up, we got to figure this out. We need the glue, so what are we going to do? It is hard. And I think, to your point, owning it and saying, this year has been hard, we don't know when it'll end, But all we do know is that we can figure it out together, and how we show up, how we respond is a cue for our children. They take their cues from us, subtly or unsubtly. And the other tip that I would add to your being open and transparent and vulnerable is don't do too much for the children.
Mm-hmm.
When we do too much for them, the message we give them is, you're not capable, you can't do it, let me jump in and help you.
Mm-hmm.
That is, I think, a little absolute direct connection to how resilient we will make them, because we're not giving them the stamina to push through. We're rescuing them too quickly. Doing too much for them, um, is conveying the message with our words and actions that you're too little, you can do it, I'm here for you, I'm your rescue boat. Well, you'll be doing that for the rest of your life then.
I agree. Yes. And I would tweak a little bit about, like, this is why I love getting two people's perspective on this, because if we just agreed about everything, it'd be kind of boring.
Yeah.
But I tweak the little thing about not ever giving up. I think that there are times when children, they do need a break, and they do need to step away from whatever it is and maybe try again later. But it's not necessarily giving up. It's just, let's take a break from this for now, and when you're feeling ready, maybe we'll be able to come back with a more calm, like, mindset.
So
um,
yeah, no, I don't disagree with
yeah,
that. I,
yeah,
I think I think setting up a challenge without getting them to the point of frustration and beyond frustration, because
right.
that's not a teachable moment. So
No.
100% agree with you. Taking a pause, but the language is, this is hard, but we'll figure it out. We just haven't learned it yet. The
Yeah.
power of yet.
Yes.
We haven't learned it yet, we haven't mastered it yet. So it leaves us with hope.
Correct.
And it doesn't lead us to become perfectionists. I think that's the other thing I would say. In being resilient, we have to be honest that we're not trying to raise perfect children, perfect adults that can cope with everything.
Right.
It's okay to say, this is hard.
Hmm.
This is hard, you
Yeah,
know?
I agree completely. And then you started asking me another question after that, the never give up thing, and I lost my train of thought. But I think that oh, not helping the children, not rescuing the child. So I like to really share the example of when children are very, very young. So when my daughter was first born and very young and just starting out trying to do things on her own, pick little things up, reach for things, grab for things, um, I used the power of wait.
Mm,
The power of wait,
mm,
observation. And so I would wait and I would watch her try to do things, not things where, to a point, again, like you said, of utter frustration and exasperation. We're not suggesting that. Of course, if a child is becoming emotionally upset, then you can comfort them and soothe them. But just sitting back and maybe waiting a few more moments just to see what they might come up with on their own.
yes.
For example, with walking a child, I see this at the park all the time. I never walked my daughter with her hands up in the air. And might be a little controversial for some people because it calls what they've done into question. And there's no right or wrong way, and we all do things differently. And just because you did this as when your child was young doesn't mean you set them up to be unresilient or anything like that. But this was one of those teachable moments that I used. I never picked her up and held her by her hands and helped her walk. I let her be on the ground and eventually find the strength to pull herself up on the couch or a blanket. And I was there to support her if she was going to fall. My hands were there to spot her, but I wasn't touching her body. I was letting her take the initiative on her own. And just like adults, we sometimes forget how good it feels for us to do things on our
Yeah.
own versus if somebody helps us do it or made it happen for us. There's just so much more internal, innate satisfaction from accomplishing a task on your own. And
That's right.
children feel that too. And that's the greatest reward, not the good job, you did it.
Yep.
The
Yep.
reward for the child is that intrinsic, I did it, I did this.
Right.
And you want them to have more moments of, I did this.
Yeah, I love the wait before you jump into help approach, because it then becomes child led.
Right.
And whether it's learning, whether it's whether it's speaking or learning a skill or learning self-control, whatever the learning is, if we jump in too fast and it becomes adult directed or adult led, we are stealing opportunities from children to get the sense of accomplishment, to get motivated, and to also know that I can do this, relying on yourself. So I think being resilient has so much to do with inner strength, relying on our inner strength, and not going through life that I have to be rescued. So even when I'm a toddler, or even if I'm an infant, and you stated it very beautifully, that allowing them the space to show us who they are, allowing us the space to show us what they can accomplish.
Mhm.
So waiting and pausing before jumping doesn't make us better parents. Uh, we have to look at it like, am I empowering you or enabling you?
Mhm. Yeah.
Everything that we do as parents, is my words and actions empowering you, believing in you, or am I enabling you and sending you the message that you are too little and you can't?
Right. Right.
So,
Right. I agree with that as well. I think that it's normal and you feel this instinctual pull as a parent, at least I do, to want to have power and control over what everything that your child does, not from a negative place, but because um, you want to protect them, you
right.
want to, because you care about them so much, and they, in certain things they need our help, but I think that we can also empower our children by trusting them,
Yes.
having trust in them from the day they are born, that they are whole human beings, fully capable of like in some ways, like knowing what they need for
Yep.
themselves in a lot of ways. So I mean, I'm not saying, again, this is not to ignore a child's needs. Of course you always help, but I think that it's a perspective shift of seeing children as capable and
And
seeing
intelligent,
an
capable
intelligent.
and intelligent, and they're capable of managing. Um, and I think what we're talking about is not ignoring, is becoming responsive. I
Yeah.
think the word is responsive parent, conscious parent, because you're aware of how to support the child, like scaffold the child when they can't do something,
Yeah.
but don't do it for them without allowing them the space to figure it out. So let's do some tangibles. What specific activities or what specific things can parents do if somebody needs an idea, or say from 3 to 5 years old, they have a child 3 to 5 or a toddler to 5, what could be something tangible they could do to strengthen the brain muscle for being resilient?
So I mean, for me, a lot of it was physical for my daughter at the young age. It was, um, we have this little step stool in our house, and oh my gosh, she wanted to climb this thing like there was no other. And she's always been a climber. If anybody on here knows my daughter, she loves to climb, and she still does. But she wanted to master this ladder, and of course I was nervous. She was like maybe one when she was trying to do this, but I allowed her that opportunity to gain a sense of accomplishment. So I don't think I'm sure there are specific activities that you could do to create resilience, but I think it happens best in the natural, organic way that children want to challenge themselves,
Right.
and allowing them the space to challenge themselves, even though it might seem a little scary to you, but be there, guiding, supporting, spotting them if it seems like something that they're not quite capable of yet, and trusting that they know themselves enough to take this challenge, that they want to try it. And
Yeah, I think that's beautiful. I think allowing them a space to show where they can challenge themselves. And I think if you're thinking of something specific, so I love your physical development example. I would say fine motor comes to my mind when we want to strengthen the resilient neural pathways. Puzzles, fine motor activities where you have to beat and string. It takes patience and
mm,
it takes to stick with it. So
Yes.
doing activities that the child has to stick with it. Playing board games, you got to stick with it. You got to get to the end. You got to follow the rules. So, the old-fashioned board games, puzzles, stringing activities, things that make you slow down,
Mm-hmm.
things that make you force you to figure it out, problem solve,
Yes.
and in the moment figure out how you can get to the other side. So I think doing more of those is not really one specific activity, but it's the approach. Approach of giving them chances to finish something, stick with something, learn something new, that they're leading the learning process,
Mm-hmm.
um, are all examples to me of allowing a resilient environment. And also for us, I think owning it and saying, I'm learning something new. I don't
Yeah.
know, this whole Facebook thing, live thing, this is something new we're learning, you know? And
Yeah.
we could have given it up. Like you and I have been on back and forth on text, and we could have easily given it up anywhere, but
Yeah.
we didn't. We showed up with resilience. And so I think that you have to live it, right? It's not just a word. You have
Yeah.
to have a mindset. It's all about a mindset, right?
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. I think that we can we can use those types of tools. Those are great suggestions. I love that. I think reading is another way. Storybooks. You have to get to the end of the story. So if you're with a very young child, even having them be able to sit through to hear the end and the outcome of the story can be a sort of activity for very young children. Um, and I think that, yeah, there's just so much that I think there's so much of this that is from a perspective of your relationship too with your
Mm-hmm.
child.
Mm-hmm.
So when they're struggling, being able to validate their experiences and their emotions,
Mm-hmm.
and not basing your love for them off of their performance either. So I think, a lot of times we can get caught in the trap of um, praising positive behavior or wanted behavior, desired behavior, and then withdrawing and pulling away our approval when children are doing undesired behavior. But I
Uh,
think,
Beth, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but we have some comments going on in the Facebook, so I'm going to
oh, yeah.
respond right now.
Oh, good.
Yes, we are live right now. I mean, we're at the end almost, but yes, we're live this minute. Um, oh, yes, they joined. So, yeah, I don't know if there's any more comments that you can see from your side, but I feel like, if there was anybody else who was asking any questions, we could certainly um, weave them in.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if I can find questions. I see 6 comments. Did you see those?
I did. I just finally stopped and looked at them. So I wanted to make sure if there was any questions coming or if there's anybody who wanted to add value to what we have just talked about. Um,
Yeah. So it seems like some people weren't able to get on, but for the most part, there are other people who are saying hello. So hello, Sana,
yeah.
and hello, Dawn, and hello, Renee. Yeah, I mean, I hope that this ended up working for people to see, but if not, like we said, we can always send it out via email and with the link to everybody who signed up on the event page. So we can do that
Yeah, we
too.
will definitely share the link. It's recorded, so we'll definitely share the link. But it's such a important topic, and we're right at 12:30. Was there something else that you wanted to add, Beth, about what else can we do?
So my approach to all of this is that your relationship with the child is really paramount to developing their resiliency. So things that can develop your relationship together are building trust with each other, being honest with the child, validating the child's experiences and feelings. So being able to acknowledge even the hard ones. It's hard to say to a child, "You're feeling really scared right now," and just sit with that,
Yeah,
without trying to fix or do anything,
yeah.
or take or distract the child to do something else. And so I think it's so much resilience is so much about the support that you had. You mentioned in the very beginning, like how come some people are thriving and how come some people are not. And I saw this awesome visual when the pandemic first started about it's because we're all in different boats.
Absolutely.
Some boats are thriving and rising because um, they have oars that work and they don't have any holes in their boat, right? And so that means they have a support system. They have things that are building them up in life right now. But other people, there's holes in their boats. Maybe they don't have a support system. Maybe there was just a loss in their family. Maybe they have a history of trauma. And so the reason that I think that some people are thriving and some people are not is because with resilience, a lot of it comes from the deep relationships that you
Yeah.
have with your caregivers, with your teachers. And
Yep.
so the more we can build those relationships, the better resilience all of us will have.
I think it's so true. The circle of support that each one of us either has or doesn't have
Yeah.
gives us the inner strength to show up in this world.
Yeah.
And you said something earlier to address the feelings and emotions and sit with them. And I love Fred Rogers. I mean, he's one of my favorite idols. I just love Mr. Rogers. And he said one of the things he said was, "What's mentionable is manageable." So
Mm,
no matter how hard a feeling is, if we can mention it, we can manage it.
mhm.
I was talking to my daughter, and she has a little daughter who's 2 years old, and they were coming to the time where they're taking off the passy. And my daughter was wondering that if her daughter was missing the passy, but she didn't want to address the word missing in case it inflates that feeling. And I said, but she's experiencing the emotion, whether you mention the feeling or not. It's
Yeah.
she's experiencing it. She is, so label it. You're missing your passy. I'm so sorry. I know that's tough, but you can handle it. We'll figure this out. I'm here for you. You can coach her through it, but if you can't mention it, how are you going to manage it? We don't need to avoid it.
Right.
And also, we don't need to pretend it's not happening. And also, we don't need to pretend to brush it in under the rug and say, no, no, you're fine. Let me distract you. Here, look at this
Yeah.
rattle. We don't need to do that.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
let it be, label the emotion, label the feeling. And what we will do in the moment is teaching the children that I can handle it. I got through that. I came out at the other side. So, not rescuing them, and also not, I would say, not bailing them out.
Yeah.
Don't lie for them, don't bail them out. And it starts really early. It starts, you don't have to wait till they are teenagers or, doing drastic stuff to bail them out. Bailing out starts early. Bailing out means, you know, giving them an excuse that, oh, you were too tired, that's why that happened. If they misbehaved or something, let's own it.
Mm,
Yes, you were tired, yes, you were hungry, but is there a better way to handle it? Let's own
mm.
it. Let's not bail you out of it.
Yeah, yeah, I think I get what you're saying there too. I think it's also important just to note that for some children, for young children anyway, being tired and hungry actually makes it very difficult for them to regulate their emotions. So not blaming the child necessarily for behavior when they're young that is what would you say, is because of the fact that they're hungry or tired. Sometimes we'll get very frustrated with a child for their behavior when they're in that state. And it really isn't their fault, I don't think, because they just, when you're tired or hungry as a little kid, you
Look,
really
the
can't
bio
control your
needs
emotions.
are real. The bio needs are real.
Yeah,
So we don't need to make excuses, but we can own it and say, your behavior is telling me you have a bio need. Your behavior is telling me you have a big emotion and you don't know what to do with it.
yeah,
And
yeah,
big feelings are really hard for little people.
yes,
Anger, frustration, irritation. They may not have learned the word for it, but it's hard when you experience it. They don't know what to do with it. We have some new friends on Facebook. So we have Eva joined us. Hi, Eva. And she got in with the Zoom. I'm not sure. Hi, Renee. Hi, Dawn. Hi, Sana. I'm glad that you're here. So we are getting close to the end of our conversation. Does anybody have any questions or comments that you want to include? Because I know there's wealth of wisdom around there. What have you tried that has worked for you that you could add value?
sorry, I'm trying to see the comments.
I hear you.
Sorry, I was trying to see the comments so I could answer if anything came up, but it was just doing
Yeah,
double play of us talking. So we
no
can go
worries.
for a few more minutes. I mean, I'm fine with time. Are you? Do you want to wait a few more minutes and
Yeah,
just
we
see
have
if
a couple
anybody else
more minutes.
questions?
Yeah, we have a couple more. Couple more. I also think we can celebrate tasks and accomplishments. So, when we say to a child, you can handle it and you got this, when they show you with their behavior that they were able to handle it, I think it's really important to recognize their effort. I'm so proud of
Yeah.
you. You kept your self-control. You were able to regulate your emotions. They may not understand the big words, but let's not water down the words. You were able to manage your emotions. I'm proud of you. You were able to wait. You showed patience. You showed kindness. Um, I think recognizing their efforts will help them to become resilient as well. But I also think there's specific qualities like grit, tenacity, and
Mhm.
persistence will help us to become resilient. And I
Yes.
think we talked about these, but we didn't label them as grit and tenacity and persistence. What do you think?
Yes, totally. So there's a book called She Persisted that
Oh,
I read with my daughter, and that really helped her understand right around 4 years old what persistence meant, that it meant to stick with it and keep going. And so one of the tools that I use with her is mantras.
mm.
So I use mantras when I'm stuck with something, and she started using them too. So I've noticed that she'll say, "I can do this" to herself when she's trying to do something new. She wanted to do the monkey bars for the longest time, and she learned about I taught her about mantras and how we can say things to ourselves that give us power. And so she'll when she gets ready to do the monkey bars, she'll go, I can do this. And then she'll, go for it. And it really, she sees the power in the mantra. She
So
sees it.
even though we've just met, we are so similar in our approach to children. I say that with my granddaughter. I was saying earlier that I've said these language to, but she says it to herself now. I can't give up. We got to figure this out. Like we were doing homework yesterday. She's in second grade, and you know, it could have easily been that it was too hard for her, and I could have jumped in, and I just was waiting for her, and I heard her say it. I can't give up. I got to figure this out. I'm like, okay, it's okay. She's sticking with it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. You stick with it.
Very good.
And I think that, if you need, you sometimes you need support as a kid. And there are times it's a balance, right? So as parents, we need to be able to discern too when they do really do need our help and our support. And I think that because everyone here is probably very conscious of that type of thing, but I just like to add that in, that it's just to not be misconstrued of,
Mm,
is that you're being supportive, you're being there, and knowing when if a child starts to get into a distress, then of course you want to help them and
absolutely.
give
I
them
think
that
the
support.
approach in education, we call it scaffolding in the classrooms.
Yeah.
Letting the child do what they can for themselves, and when they can't, providing assistance and support at that moment. So, because the point of all of this is not to make you tough, the point is not to ignore you, the point is not to show up. You have to be more responsive, more intentional, more aware, because then you are navigating. Okay, you got to this point. Let me just give you a little support so you can get here. And then I'm going to back off and I'm
Yeah.
going to take you further. So you're
Yes.
there, you're not disappearing, you're not ignoring, but you are only providing support when they reach their threshold. And
Yes.
earlier we were talking about getting to know your own child and building a true relationship.
Yeah.
Um, that's when you know where the threshold is. That's when you know the body signs before they lose it. That's when you know you're coming close to the line.
Yeah.
And I better jump in now before we have a full blown meltdown.
Yes, and you say that so beautifully and right on point. That's exactly the point that I'm trying to make, is that there's a discernment there. It's a gentle balance, and it does take more intention and more conscious thinking. I keep using that word, but it's just really on my heart right now, of like being um it's hard, it's the harder work, let's be honest. It's the harder work to parent this way, but the long-term goals, if we really want the things that we say we want for our children long term, if you think about the type of adult you want them to be when they leave your home, um, you have to ask yourself, is what I'm doing setting them up to be those long-term goals. And a lot of times the way we were parented, and even traditional parenting, and even traditional the way the schools are set up, and the way people are taught, is that I lost my train of thought, but
They're
just
more
that.
reactive. I think what you're trying to say is the traditional way, and sometimes schools are set up in a very reactive way instead
Yeah.
of teachable moment way.
Yes.
And it's true, these are life skills that we need. These are life qualities that we need. It isn't so much about just fixing it in the moment or helping it in the moment and hurrying it in the moment. I know when children learn to put their shoes on and their clothes on, the self-help skills, that's where I would start with infants and toddlers. Not so much infants. I mean, even an infant can do something. They could hold something, they could do something. They could hold their bottle if they're feeding. But by the time they're toddlers, I think giving them time to do self-help skills will build the resiliency as well. So we can
Yes.
go on forever, Beth. I think we
Yes.
have found a topic we are so
Yeah.
passionate about that I'm hoping that whoever's listening is finding it helpful and valuable. And if you need to discuss it further, if you are at a home and you want what you've heard individualized, um, definitely you can go to Together We Grow and you can click on a 30-minute free consultation. Go on my website, set up a free consultation, and we can talk about your specific child. And then Beth has some resources. If you want to share yours, Beth, before we wrap up.
Yep. You can find me at bethtyson.com. I also offer a 30-minute free consultation to just go over and brainstorm, what your issues are, and come up with a customized plan for you and your family. I also offer, like I said, training to groups, so organizations, businesses, and childcare providers,
Yep,
schools.
same here. I think we're both offering the same thing, and we are eager to help you. We are both very approachable, so reach out to either one of us. And if you liked it, leave us a comment if you found this helpful. We will upload the video, and it will be on the YouTube channel. We both have a YouTube channel. We'll upload it there. These are amazing opportunities to share and learn in a space, and we're all in the learning space. None of us have it figured out. None of us are experts. We're just figuring it out as we go.
No, yeah, I shared that too on my thing, is that the goal is not to do this perfectly. The goal is to do it better than we did yesterday.
There you
In small bits is all we can really do, if
go.
we keep
Getting
it.
better at getting better.
Exactly.
Getting better. All right. Well, this was fun, my friend. Okay,
Yeah.
we will do it again, and maybe we'll pick a different topic because we could clearly talk about it for a long time.
Yeah, I found that I have so much to add on this. I'm probably going to offer my own webinar on this topic
I
soon. So.
know. I know I actually have a YouTube video on it done already, but I feel like that was done so long ago that I could keep talking about it. I think anything that gives us life skills, and it's a foundational skill, we could talk about it forever.
Yes, exactly. Well, it was a pleasure chatting with you, and I
You-
learned so much from you too. And I'm just glad that we found each other. I really am.
Thank you, Beth. I feel the same way. I'm so excited to have met new friends that I'm learning and sharing from. So thank you, friends who joined us. Thank you for taking time out in your day. We appreciate you, and have a wonderful weekend ahead. Wishing everybody a safe and healthy weekend.
Exactly. Same here. Ditto. Wishing you all well.
Bye, Beth.
Bye.